lost money this week and you never even noticed. Not to a bad trade, not to a scam, not to a hidden fee buried in fine print. You lost it to 7 minutes of deciding. 7 minutes you spent weighing, worrying, waiting to feel sure, while the door quietly closed. Here's the lie you were taught, that carefulness with money is the same thing as safety with money. It isn't. Carefulness is a costume fear wears so you don't notice its fear. You call it being responsible. It calls itself patience. But patience that never ends is just paralysis wearing a nicer name. Machiavelli wrote that fortune is a woman who favors the bold and crushes those who approach her with caution. Translate that to money. The market does not wait for you to feel ready. The deal does not wait for your spreadsheet. The opportunity does not care that you wanted one more day to think it over. So here is the dare. For the next few minutes, notice every decision you are currently stalling on. The email you haven't sent, the number you haven't asked for, the move you've been about to make for months. By the end of this, you will understand exactly why the fast are getting richer while the careful are getting comfortable. And there is one move the fast make in silence that they will never explain to you. Not yet. You are not ready for it. But you will be. Phase 1. The psychology of hesitation. You think you are being careful. You are being trained by your own brain to confuse discomfort with danger. Every time you delay a decision, a small chemical reward tells you that you dodged a risk. You didn't dodge anything. You just postponed the cost and added interest to it. Here's what the broke never see. Hesitation feels like safety because it removes the immediate sting of being wrong. But it replaces one sting with a slower, quieter one. The sting of watching someone else take what was sitting in front of you. You don't feel that sting right away. You feel it months later, scrolling past someone who took the leap you were still thinking about. Picture the Sunday night scroller. 5 job offers sit open in 5 tabs. She reads the fine print again. She checks the salary range once more. She wants to be sure, completely, perfectly sure. By Friday, 3 of the offers are gone. Not because she chose wrong, because she never chose at all. And the world does not hold doors open for people who are still deciding whether to walk through them. Or picture the employee who has rehearsed the raise conversation in the shower for 6 months. He knows the number he wants. He knows the argument he wants to make. He has said the sentence 100 times in his head, word for word, and said it out loud to his manager exactly 0 times. Meanwhile, someone 2 desks over asked for the same raise in a 5-minute conversation, got it, and is already spending it. The employee who rehearsed is not more thoughtful. He is more afraid, and the fear has simply learned to disguise itself as preparation. This is not caution. This is not wisdom. This is not maturity. This is fear, dressed in a blazer, calling itself due diligence. You were taught that the slow and steady win. Nobody told you the finish line moves. Nobody told you that while you are steady, the fast are already 3 moves ahead, already holding the asset, already collecting the check that was supposed to have your name on it. Stay with me, because this is where it gets uncomfortable. The hesitation is not protecting your money. It is protecting your ego from the risk of being wrong in front of yourself. And that protection has a price tag you have never once looked at directly. Phase 2. The price of the pause. Picture the auction room. The paddle goes up in half a second for one bidder. The other leans to a friend and whispers, "Let me think about it." By the time she looks up, the hammer has already fallen. She didn't lose the item. She lost it to a decision she never actually made. The decision to wait, disguised as no decision at all. But it gets worse. This isn't just an auction room problem. It's every room you've ever stood in. The co-worker with the great idea has had it for 8 years. He talks about it at every lunch, refines it in his head every night, and has never once shipped it. Meanwhile, someone else launched an ugly, unfinished, embarrassing version of a similar idea last Tuesday, and it's already making money, while his perfect version still lives in a notebook. Here's the part they never teach you. Opportunity cost does not send you a bill. It doesn't show up on a bank statement with a line item that says, "Cost of waiting, $4,000. It is silent. It is invisible. It only shows up later, as the gap between the life you have and the life someone else built while you were still deciding whether to start. The investor who wires the money within the hour is not reckless. He has simply learned that the money he loses by moving on incomplete information is smaller than the money he loses by waiting for complete information that never arrives. The landlord who signs on a handshake is already collecting rent, while the tenant, reviewing the lease, is still homeless in his own hesitation. You will never see this tax itemized anywhere, because no one collects it in one place. It shows up as the friend who bought the property you were still comparing crime statistics on, now collecting rent while you're still reading reviews about the neighborhood. It shows up as the raise you didn't ask for, the domain name you didn't buy, the stock you were going to look into eventually. Small, silent charges, all due on the same account, yours. This is not about being reckless. This is not about ignoring risk. This is not about pretending certainty exists. This is about understanding that the tax on waiting is real. It compounds, and it is always due. Phase 3. The Machiavellian decision engine. Machiavelli wrote that a wise prince relies on what is in his own control. Translate that to money. You cannot control the market. You cannot control the timing of the deal falling into your lap, but you can control the speed at which you move once it does. That is the entire lever. That is the whole game. Now watch how the game actually works. The people who build wealth do not wait for 100% certainty. They act at 70. They gather enough information to see the shape of the opportunity, and then they move, while the herd is still requesting more data, more time, more reassurance that cannot exist. Certainty above 70% is not caution. It is a hiding place. And every day you hide in it, someone with less information than you is already collecting the return. This is information asymmetry, and it does not mean the fast know more. It means the fast act on less, faster, and are already 3 steps ahead by the time the cautious finish confirming what the fast already tested in the real world. Think of the wolf and the sheep. The wolf does not call a meeting. It does not form a committee. It sees the gap in the fence, and it moves through it in the same breath it noticed it. The sheep is still watching the wolf, still deciding whether the movement it saw was real when the gap closes. Or picture the founder pitching investors. One founder spends 11 months perfecting a deck, still waiting for it to feel finished, while a competitor with a rougher pitch and half the polish closes around in 3 weeks because they treated 70% ready as the actual finish line. The market did not wait to reward the better deck. It rewarded the first signature. This next move separates the owners from the owned. The owners have made peace with being wrong sometimes, because being wrong occasionally, fast, costs less than being right eventually, too late. The owned wait for guarantees that were never coming and call their waiting strategy. Phase 4. Speed as a weapon, not just a habit. Here's the math the broke never sit with. Money that moves today starts compounding today. Money that waits a year to move loses that entire year of compounding forever. It cannot be recovered later by catching up, because catching up assumes the world stood still while you decided. It didn't. The asset that would have cost you $100,000 this year costs more next year, and the version of you who finally acts is always buying at a worse price than the version of you who could have acted today. That gap between the two versions of you is not small. Across a decade, it is the difference between owning the building and renting the apartment inside it. Picture $10,000 invested today at a steady rate of return, left alone to compound for 20 years. Now picture that same $10,000, same rate of return, delayed by just 3 years because you wanted to be sure first. That is not a 3-year gap. Compounding does not wait for you to catch up later. The years you did not participate in are gone from the total forever, not postponed. 3 years of hesitation can quietly erase a meaningful fraction of the entire 20-year result.
Time equals, quote, 0.5 seconds, quote, / greater than. Nobody sends you a statement for that loss. You simply never see the number your money could have become. Read this twice. The investor who wires the money within the hour is not lucky. He simply refused to let the deal compound in someone else's account instead of his own. The landlord who signed on a handshake is now 3 years into rent checks, while the tenant who was reviewing the lease is still renting somewhere else, still reviewing something. History remembers the same pattern at a larger scale. Rome did not fall because it lacked resources. It fell because comfort replaced decisiveness. Because the empire that once moved on instinct began forming committees to discuss the obvious. The families who still hold old money today are not the ones who waited for permission. They moved when the move was available. And then they built legal structures fast enough to protect what speed had already won them. Consider this your second warning. What comes next decides whether you finish this video as an owner or as someone still deciding whether to become one. Phase 5. Installing speed as identity. Now you are ready for the move I promised you at the start. The fast do not explain their timing to anyone, because explaining invites a committee, and a committee is where speed goes to die. They let the rest of the world deliberate. They let the room debate, poll, second guess, and form consensus. And while consensus is still being built, the fast have already signed, already wired, already closed. Consensus is not wisdom. Consensus is a trap built for the slow, dressed up as safety in numbers. The fast do not ask for permission. They ask for forgiveness after the money has already cleared. Here is the stakes ladder, and it does not stop at your wallet. It started as a missed paycheck. Then it became how the room sees you, the one who means to instead of the one who does. Then it became your freedom, years of your one life spent circling decisions instead of living inside their outcomes. And now, it is generational. The pattern you hesitate inside of today is the same pattern your children will inherit as instinct, unless you break it in yourself first. The family that waits produces a family that waits. The family that moves produces a dynasty. So picture the version of you on the other side of this. Calm,
unbothered by the noise of other people's indecision, watching the room debate a decision you made and executed 3 weeks ago. That version of you is dangerous, not because he is reckless, but because he has removed the gap between seeing and acting that everyone else lives inside. That version has a price. Isolation from the deliberating crowd, because they will call your speed arrogance when it is actually discipline. The discomfort of committing before it feels perfectly safe, every single time, for the rest of your life. There is a deeper mechanic behind manufactured urgency, how the fast create the very windows that force everyone else to hesitate, and it is too sharp to lay out in full on a public feed. But you now have the foundation. You know the difference between the
owner and the owned. So here is where this actually leaves you. Money loves speed the way water loves the lowest point in the room. It does not ask permission. It simply flows toward whoever moves first and leaves everyone else standing there wondering what happened. You have spent this entire video watching examples of people who paid a tax they never saw on a receipt. The bidder who lost the item to a whisper. The co-worker who protected an idea for 8 years instead of shipping it. The tenant still reviewing a lease while someone else already cashed 3 years of rent. None of them were unlucky. They were slow, and slow has a price tag that never stops running. This is not motivation. This is not a pep talk. This is not a suggestion that you try to be braver next time. This is an instruction to notice, today, which decision you are currently circling, and to understand that every day you circle it, someone with less information than you, less certainty than you, and less right to it than you, is moving closer to taking it. The transformed version of you does not feel the itch to check 5 more reviews, ask 6 more opinions, or wait for the feeling of total safety before acting. He has made peace with the fact that the feeling of total safety is a myth sold to people who want an excuse to stay still. He decides at 70%, moves, and lets the last 30% sort itself out in real time, because real time is the only place money has ever actually been made. There is a price for this, and you should know it before you claim it. You will look reckless to people who call their hesitation wisdom. You will feel exposed the first several times you commit before it feels comfortable. You will lose the comfort of always having someone else to blame if it goes wrong, because a fast decision is unmistakably yours. That is the tax. Pay it anyway. It is smaller than the one you have been paying in silence for years. Look at the people you already admire for their money, and you will notice the same trait every time. They are not smarter than everyone in the room, and they will often tell you that themselves. What they have is a shorter gap between seeing an opening and stepping through it. That gap is the entire skill. It is not talent. It is not luck. It is not a secret formula sold in a course. It is a decision, made faster than everyone else in the room was willing to make it, over and over, for years, until speed stopped being a technique and became simply who they are. You already know which decision this is for you. You knew it before this video started. The only thing that changed in the last few minutes is that you no longer have the excuse of not knowing what it's costing you. The hesitant version of you has to die today. Every day you keep him alive, he is spending money you will never see, on opportunities you will never know you lost. I'm not going to ask you to prove anything in the comments. The market does not care about your comments, and neither do I. If you understand what it costs to wait, type "I decide" as a contract with yourself. Then put the phone down and make the move you've been circling. The fast have already left this video. The slow are still reading this sentence. Choose your side.